Welcome back, Focus Learners, to another explainer. Man, I am incredibly excited to dive into today's topic, mostly because, well, it's something every single one of us deals with all the time. Today, we're going to unpack the psychology of frustration, and we're going to reveal the totally fascinating physical reality of repressed anger that is often hiding right beneath the surface. We've got a fantastic deck prepared for you, drawing on some deep insights from clinical psychologists and somatic therapists. It's really going to help us visualize exactly what's going on in our minds and bodies when we think we're just feeling stuck. Let's get right into it.
So think about it for a second. When was the exact last time you told someone you were just frustrated? Maybe you were, I don't know, fighting with a super stubborn pasta jar, or anxiously waiting for a phone call that was pushing 20 minutes late. You probably just sighed, threw your hands up in the air, and went, "Ugh, I'm just so frustrated." But I want you to ask yourself a question. Were you actually feeling something way more intense in that moment? Was that nice, socially acceptable word just a really convenient cover for a much heavier emotion?
Okay, let's dive into the core premise of our entire explainer today. Frustration is almost always a mask for something much deeper. I mean, think of frustration as literally just the tip of the iceberg. It's the visible, totally acceptable part that pokes out above the water, right? And it shields us from the complex and, yeah, sometimes really messy emotional depths lying underneath. We toss around the word frustrating to describe everything from minor everyday annoyances to massive, life-altering ruts. But trust me, it pays to look below the waterline.
Which brings us to Section 1, the illusion of frustration. Basically, the ultimate catch-all label.
You know, when we feel this sense of stagnation or helplessness, like we just can't make things happen the way we want, it's so much easier to just say, "Hey, I'm frustrated." But what's really fascinating is how 5 primary emotions absolutely love to hide under that disguise. First up, there's plain old anger. You aren't just frustrated, you literally want to take a bat to your broken dishwasher. Then there's anxiety or fear. You might call it frustration when your doctor doesn't call back with test results right away, but if we're being honest, you're terrified. Third is sadness, that feeling of deep despair over missing a major fitness goal, or maybe mourning a lost opportunity. We mislabel that grief as frustration all the time. Fourth is guilt. This is like when you've made a mistake and you just want to move on, but you're quote-unquote frustrated that a friend won't let it go. And finally, shame. If you've got a history of imposter syndrome or these chronic feelings of unworthiness, the sheer weight of that can leave you feeling helplessly frustrated with your entire life. You see what's happening here? Frustration is just a way easier pill to swallow than terror, grief, or shame.
Moving right along to Section 2, symptoms of repressed anger. Let's look at the subconscious toll. All right, we are traveling deeper down the iceberg now, plunging straight into the subconscious psychological toll that unexpressed anger actually takes on us. Because when we consistently use frustration as a mask, especially for anger, that emotion doesn't just evaporate, it goes somewhere. So it's absolutely crucial we define what we are actually dealing with here. Repressed anger is a natural emotion that is unconsciously suppressed and held within the body and psyche due to a fear of conflict or social conditioning. And I really want to emphasize something super important here. Anger is not a moral failing. It's just a natural biological emotion, period. But when society teaches us that it's bad to be angry, we suppress it. The huge problem with that is, it becomes a very real physical reality that demands an outlet. Whatever gets suppressed does not just magically disappear.
When we compare the surface to the depth, the difference is honestly pretty striking. On the surface, the frustrated person is sulking, sighing, openly annoyed, maybe kicking a tire or complaining about the terrible internet speed. It's totally visible, and it's socially accepted. But look at the depth. The repressed angry person, they aren't throwing a fit. They are depressed, overly subjugated, maybe even paranoid, or just completely, totally emotionally numb. It is this unseen, quietly destructive reality.
And psychoanalysts have known a very heavy truth for a long time now. Depression is anger turned inward. Just let that sink in for a second. It's a heavy realization, isn't it? When you bury your anger, when you absolutely refuse to let it out, it doesn't vanish. It actually turns around and attacks your own mind. You end up directing all that hostility straight towards yourself. And that leads to this profound, heavy sadness for what seems like no reason at all.
So, let's unpack the specific symptoms that show up when the body acts as a sealed container for this emotion. The pressure basically causes these toxic psychological leaks. First up is depression, where an inner critic relentlessly attacks you, essentially acting just like an abuser from your past. Second is subjugation. This is when you completely silence your own needs just to keep the peace and avoid any sort of conflict. Third is paranoia.
Because you won't acknowledge your own hostility, you project it outward, feeling like the whole entire world is out to get you. Fourth is self-righteousness. This one is super interesting. It's basically perfectionism masking a quiet, intense resentment toward everyone else who isn't trying as hard as you are. And finally, passive aggressiveness. Withholding, sarcasm, subtle guilt tripping. Essentially punishing people without ever actually telling them why.
All right, let's pivot and pick up the pace. Section 3, healing through somatic release. This is all about moving that energy out.
Okay, so we've talked about the heavy psychological symptoms, but now we really need to look at the physical, actionable solutions. If repressed anger is trapped in the body, well, we have to use the body to get it out. Let's look at some incredible somatic therapy techniques that can literally move this stuck energy completely out of your system. Starting with the grounding technique. This is a brilliant somatic exercise you can do pretty much anywhere. Step 1, get barefoot if you can, stand on the earth, and actually visualize roots growing straight down from your feet. Step 2, breathe deeply and literally visualize that hot, angry energy flowing down those roots and right out of your body. And step 3 is the classic 5-4-3-2-1 method. Out loud, name 5 things you see, 4 you touch, 3 you hear, 2 you smell, and 1 you taste. This forcefully anchors your nervous system in the present moment, totally interrupting that cycle of anger and dissipating the energy. It is incredibly effective.
And this next one brilliantly illustrates how we can use intense physical exertion to process emotion safely. It's called the wall push. So, you face a solid wall, feet shoulder-width apart, with one leg back for stability. Then you push against that wall with your entire body, literally as if you were trying to move the foundation of the building. And here is the absolute key: make a sound. Sigh, groan, growl. Just let that vocalization out. Then rest, notice exactly how your body feels, and repeat it until that buzzy energy is completely gone. This exercise treats your body exactly like a pressure valve. You're giving the anger a safe, physical way to complete its cycle without hurting yourself or anyone else in the process.
So, as we wrap up today's explainer, I want to leave you with a final, slightly provocative thought. The very next time you feel stuck, the next time you throw your hands up and sigh, I really want you to evaluate your bodily sensations. Ask yourself, are you still just frustrated, or is your body actually begging you to release something much, much deeper? Start paying attention to that inner iceberg, practice some of this somatic awareness, and give your body the physical outlet it actually deserves. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I'll see you in the next explainer.